I mean, we all have heard about the stories of artists being jerked by his label, not getting their boss.
No Diddy.
No Diddy, man. Well, some of them were. Diddy, there was a raid a couple of weeks ago in at his homes in LA, New York, and Miami. Technically, they're not his homes; they are homes of his kids. But hey, here's what it is. It's been quiet the last week. Corey, where were you when it happened, and were you shocked?
Um, where was I? I don't know where I was. So I think that I'm grateful that it wasn't that groundbreaking in my world where I was like, I'll never forget where I was when Diddy's house or whatever was raided. Um, I was shocked at first, and then I started to think the same feds that raided his house went to Mar-a-Lago, went to have done this, that, and the other. So then I go back to this Justice Department or system doesn't actually want justice. It's more of a show. So then my mind starts to process, okay, well, what are they trying to do? What's actually going on? And then you know, where my algorithm lies, oh, they were trying to get all the evidence because Diddy was going to buy ABC, right? You know, not literally, but just everybody they have more intelligence than even the intelligence. So, not surprised. I'm one of those people that went down the rabbit hole a while back in terms of what Diddy was actually up to and some of the people that left his camp, why they left and where they are today and yada, yada, yada. So I'm not going to surface those stories, but I know that they're out there, and I don't know. I'm interested to see how other people view this, because I do believe through this now being headlines, you can either accept it, you can run from it, you can ignore it, you can laugh. Like no matter what you do, you got to do something with it, because a lot of people just didn't actually go and look for the information.
They never do, right? Never go look for it. They just that's I think that's a lot of times the problem with people idolizing celebs, where they're looking at the screen and they see someone they like and then they root for him, but they never try to find out what these people do in their private life. And it seems like to me, if you read the stories, and I'm not sure if everything is true. I mean, if you look, we discussed the Lil Rod story in these shows as well, and some things you gotta ask yourself, dude, why would you write it this way? Doesn't make any sense. Some of the things he put, some of them do, and
Right.
then you got to ask yourself, like, dude, is who is Diddy actually? Who
Right.
have everyone has been praising Diddy for the last, I know Diddy since I was little, so probably since 30 years.
Sure.
I've seen Diddy grow to the guy he is now, and then all these stories come out now. It. I mean, you can say a fall of a, in my view, since he's that big, I don't idolize people like this, but it's like a fall of a someone you've seen your whole life on TV.
Yeah, it is.
But, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Corey. MC Moses.
Um, so I mean, because what we thought Diddy was, depending on when you did come across some sort of damning information about him, you look at him in a completely different light. So when you say this is the fall of Diddy, in my mind, he had already fallen. And so for the last decade or so, for me, I never saw him in this mogul or aspire. Anybody who wanted to be like Diddy is like, you don't, right? So like he was already at the bottom for me. But and then what will actually happen? Well, because the houses are in the kid's name. They didn't Did they do anything? So he's already kind of protected himself for this day. He changed his name. So that was Sean Combs who was doing that. That wasn't Diddy. Or that was Love who did that. That wasn't Diddy. Or I don't know what he's going by today. But it's like, who are they looking for? And what are the charges? And when did it happen? Who was he going by then? These are the levels at which some of these celebrities move. And when you talk about the criminality of stuff, if they're looking for a who, I don't know. That's the part where my mind goes. I don't know if there's actually, like, if that's an actual piece of the puzzle of who he was going by and when this was. But I'm pretty sure he's protected in some way. If not, he's with the Fed. What do you mean? Like,
those stories are going around. Yes.
But I cut you off. I wanted to know what you were going to say.
Yeah, you didn't cut me off. But yeah, what I wanted to say was that KaiR said something. He said that we've known him in different phases, but he's at the same time, did we really know him? We know of him.
Yeah.
It's not like we know that he had a show, Making the Band, I believe it was called. We know that he was popular, very popular in the 90s, early 20s, but then he became like a mythical creature. So if you take, for example, Jay still continued to drop. So he did become mythical, but he did at the same time continue to drop albums. So we did get to know him. He would do interviews, other things like that. He would be involved in scandals. But with Diddy, he remained Diddy, but he wasn't in the public's eye as much as he was when we grew up. So
yeah.
But what is very important is very, very, very important to mention is that Diddy has been known for his parties, extravagant parties. And we know that not because Diddy promotes them, but because there are a lot of stories by artists, by actors, by athletes that involve a Diddy party, and not in a sexual way. Just I was at a Diddy party, and I think Jamie Foxx met Ye at a Diddy party, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like he brings people together. But I do believe now from the stories that you have the PG-13 version or the R version even, and then you have the XXX version. And depend on who was involved in the latter, and if he was really recording, then he could have been, or could be, he can be, both an asset and a liability at the same time, because it's just two sides, so two extremes of a spectrum. We have, if we go through, if we look at our history, not the one that's being taught in school, of course, but there have been continuous stories about people who we get to know them when they become the villain. But if you go do your homework, you see that at one point they were actually assets.
And he was kind of bred into this sick system of gatekeepers. You know, if you want to make it big in the music industry, this is what you have to do. He was the intern that turned to, you know, he had a hard work. He was a hardworking guy that kind of just rose through the ranks. Or so I guess I don't know actually Diddy's story, but I just feel like that was kind of how he was introduced to us. Yeah. But that same system was the one that a lot of artists, even in the 80s and 90s, were talking about, pointing fingers, saying this is what they're actually doing. So as much what I think we all have to do is actually hold people accountable and call the spade a spade and say this type of behavior and this type of person is not, you know, I don't want to give you a pass. And so like once I realized something, you know, once I heard about the stories, none of us know. I don't think none of us have been to a Diddy party or know the actual truth. But you could connect enough dots to say, okay, enough of this is the truth for me to now certainly separate myself from your artistry, what you stand for. Put it that way.
Yeah.
That is a type of person that we could. It's not the type of person. It is. Those are the things that we need to get rid of because it passes on traumas. It passes on degenerate behavior. It passes that, well, if you do that, I can do this. And then you just point the finger and we never move the ball forward because everybody's just hiding all their other stuff, whether it's underneath the rug, they're in the closet, there's this, there's that, and there's no actual linear progression of us as human beings, the music culture. Like there's nothing that's getting better and better and better because you've got conniving and just weird energy that is just in a room of people that are just trying to be artists or have a fashion brand or what have you. Then all of a sudden this guy shows up and something's just not right.
Yeah.
Talking about energy, so Diddy has had this kind of negative energy for a while now. For those who are watching and listening to the behind the scenes stories, I mean, we all have heard about the stories of artists being jerked by his label, not getting their boss.
No Diddy.
No Diddy, man. Well, some of them were. Anyway, hey, it is what it is. Do you, Diddy?